Good afternoon, everybody. I think we should start. And Kemi will join us when she's able. Thank you and welcome to this webinar today, organized by Spring Team to mark the 2026 International Women's Day celebration. The webinar will be moderated by myself and my colleagues, Afolabi Abayomi and Wise Yasmin, and will be supported by Bello, our technical person. But before we start, I would like to invite Dr. Okoha, our able team leader, for an opening remarks, and then we'll move to our donors, Prima Rendam, our SRO, our PRO on the program, to also give his opening remark. Doctor, thank you for joining us, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Spring Program, I would like to welcome us to this webinar, one in a series of webinars that the Spring Program is organizing to commemorate 2026 International Women's Day. As some of you that are associated with the Spring Program may know already, the Spring Program, an initiative of the UK government to promote peace efforts and climate resilience in Nigeria, has a strong commitment towards women, peace, and security. In this area, we seek to ensure that every initiative of the program is gender sensitive, that promotes gender equity, and ensures that women and girls participate effectively. It is against this background that in having this year's International Women's Day, we've tagged ourselves to ensure that every work stream of the program delivers an intervention in this respect. So this particular panel is that which is being convened by our work stream on peace, security, and justice institutions. We seek to strengthen them, and in the work we do in this work stream, we are seeking to also ensure that as part of the strengthening process, that gender equality is taken into consideration, and that issues that affect women and girls are also factored in. So this is to welcome you and to thank our audiences who, out of your very, very busy schedule, have made available some time to be with us this afternoon. We hope that the discussions that we have today will help us to progress on taking action to enhance the rights of women and enhance access to justice for women and girls. So welcome, and we look forward to an enlightening discussion. Just to say on a final note that Spring remains committed to working with each of us and our respective organizations in this particular ensuring that this mandate, this responsibility of giving access to justice to women and enhancing and protecting the rights of women in all spheres, in all dimensions, are achieved. So thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Okoha, for that wonderful remarks. May I invite Prema from FCDO for his opening remarks. Prema, the mic is on to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And I'd just like to welcome you all to this dialogue that is part of the continued celebration of International Women's Day. You know, women are very important, so it makes sense that we didn't take just a day, but we're extending it so long. Yeah. Anyway, I'm pleased to be able to join you on behalf of the British High Commission to this event. There is a lot of work that has been done so far, and is still being done around the women, peace, and security agenda, and about the inclusion of women in decision-making processes. Spring is committed. The Spring program funded by the FCDO is committed to this agenda, and we really hope to bridge the gap between, you know, having these documents and nice policies to actually seeing them being implemented in the right way. I think with all of the partners here present, we're really looking forward to hearing and seeing how we have moved from talk to action. And the panel that we have today is going to show some examples of concrete actions that they have taken to move this agenda forward. For the UK, we remain committed to our partnership with Nigeria to ensuring security and stability. And we know that this is impossible without the adequate representation and inclusion of women. Our new Foreign Secretary also has high on her priorities, ending violence against women and girls. And the UK will continue to partner with relevant agencies and organizations in achieving this mandate. We know that the issues remain widespread, but we also believe that with the deliberate action and necessary actions that we can make progress on these. And that's why we remain committed through Spring and in our other engagements to working with the government of Nigeria to make sure that there are improvements across board. I must also mention here the support that we have towards the bill for the inclusion of, you know, more women in politics, the special seats bill, because we think that this is one of the ways that we can actually get more women on the table and in the decision making, not just to contribute, but to actually take part in making decisions for themselves and for the benefit of the country as a whole. And we will continue to work to coalesce support and advocacy towards this goal. And we hope that all of you here will also, by the end of today, see why this is so necessary and so strategic. Just to say that I hope that we have good deliberations today and that we leave here with renewed commitment towards, you know, improving the rights and access of women in Nigeria. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to speak here, and I hope that everyone has a good session going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prema, for that wonderful remarks. And as before we go into the main discussion, I would like to inform us that the discussions here will be recorded, and this is for the purpose of our program, and we will share them on our social media platforms, and you can access them from our platforms when they are posted. And I hope that I have our agreement to proceed and record these proceedings. And we are also meeting everybody to ensure that we have a hitch-free deliberation. But the platform is open for you to raise your questions, or you raise your hand if you have anything during the time for questions. Thank you so much. And as we go in now, so International Women's Day is commemorated annually on the 8th of March. And this event provides a global platform to reflect on progress towards gender equality and to mobilize action to advance the rights of women and girls. This year's International Women's Day global theme, Rights, Justice, Action for All Women and Girls, underscores the need for inclusive rights-based justice system, accountable governance and gender equality, and effective institutional leadership in achieving sustainable peace, security, and development. Spring is organizing this webinar, and we have framed our theme for today's discussion around this global theme, which is rights, justice, advancing women's and girls' rights through institutional reforms in security, peace, and justice systems. And we'll be looking at the roles of peace building architectures and governance and justice institutions in advancing women's rights and access to justice in the implementation of Spring's women, peace, and security commitments. So the objective, one of the objectives of this discussion is to highlight and amplify the practices, good practices by peace building, security, and justice institutions and governance systems, and women-led structures and civil society organizations that promote gender responsiveness and inclusive approach to the work we do. And to do justice to this discussion today, we have panel of discussants. And you know, we are celebrating the International Women's Day, International Women's Day week. So I will start with the women on the panel. And the first person is Kemi Okenyedo. Kemi Okenyedo is the Executive Director of the Rule of Law and Empowerment Initiative, Partners West Africa, P1, short form. The organization is a woman-led organization driving institutional accountability, gender-responsive policing, and improved access to justice for women, girls, and marginalized communities. Kemi is bringing to this discussion wealth of years of experience in women issues, gender issues, and justice issues. She is one of the leading panelists that we'll be discussing this afternoon. Also on the panel is Dr. Joseph Ochegu. He is the current Director General of the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, IPCR, Abuja, Nigeria. He has over 20 years of experience in peace, security, conflict governance, and development sector in Nigeria and Africa. We welcome Dr. Joseph Ochegu. Also on the panel is Dr. Chris Agoha. Dr. Chris is the country manager of the Center for Humanitarian Dialogue, HD, in Nigeria. Prior to his joining HD in 2022, he worked as a political affairs officer with the United Nations Peacekeeping Mission in Liberia and South Sudan. Dr. Chris holds a PhD in peace studies from University of Bradford, United Kingdom. He will be bringing his wealth of experience in the work that they have been doing across Nigeria. The last and not the least is Deputy Corps Commandant Kemi Ajit. Kemi is the head of the gender unit and advisor at the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC headquarters. With over 2 decades, over 20 years of dedicated to public service, with a focus on gender mainstreaming, policy development, and elimination of sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria's security sector. We also welcome her. So we will start with the discussion, and the first question we go to Madam Kemi Okenyedo of P1. Madam, when a woman seeks protection, justice, or a voice in decisions affecting her community, does the system respond to her? And based on your work in marginalized areas and communities, where is the system failing to respond today? And how can women-led organizations bridge the gap between community level needs and governance accountability? Kemi, over to you.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you to the Spring team for inviting me. I think your question is very holistic. So let me start from the beginning of why does the system respond to women when they seek protection, justice, or a voice for decision affecting their communities? I'll say not really. Not really. Why doesn't the system respond to us? And let me quickly say that women here, we're not a homogeneous group. So I'll try and look at us from the lens of women within my own demography, younger women, and the girl child that is growing up, and also women living with one form of disability or the other. Access is a challenge. Access in the sense that when we're looking at accessibility, we'll look at access through the lens of physical access, financial access, procedural access. Financial access, the resources that we need in processing justice also is not free. A lot of times we do not have access, we do not have the resources. We also, if you look at the police station level, which is the first entry point of gaining access to justice, and the locations of the police stations to the physical locations of where these women are, it is quite a bit of a distance. Procedural also, for us to understand the process, might also be a bit of a challenge. And if we move back a bit, if you want to look at the indicators of the number of girls, of the girl child that are accessing formal education, it would help you appreciate why procedural access at the end of the day might be a challenge for the average Nigerian woman. That said, I'd like to put in context, there was a time we organized a dialogue in one of the communities where we live, and we were trying to, because we have legal aid clinics, and one of the legal aid lawyers was trying to explain this to some of the women we were interfacing with. And the woman said to us, she said, "We hear you, and we know that the law is there, but the law does not know where we live," which means the law does not recognize the peculiarities and the challenges that they
Yes.
face. Yes. A bit further to that is trust. When we talk about trust again, it's also a second layer of the accessibility. That yes, the institutions exist, yet many of us hesitate to report, because when we do have the confidence to approach the system, it's as if the system is structured and wired against us, right? And
Yeah.
why do I say so? When you get there and you want to lodge a complaint, first is what happened, who is this person, trying to understand. The person that is supposed to listen to you and take down your complaint is trying to understand the dynamics of the relationship between you and the person that has perpetrated the harm against you. If it comes down to the fact that the person seems to be within your social circle or your social network, then it's why are you bringing it to the police station? Why didn't you report to somebody within the member of the family? Why didn't you report through your religious network? But it's my choice. It's my choice that I choose to come to a formal institution to make a report against someone that I feel has perpetrated a harm against me. And in most of these cases, some of these violations, that's why some of these violations go unreported, because you've heard what has happened to number one, number two, number three. You've seen how the community has stigmatized certain people that have tried to stand up. You've seen how maybe your neighbor, somebody within your social network too, has been intimidated and possibly ostracized for approaching the agency that ought to protect, and the case has now turned around, and you've now become the person that is being investigated rather than the person that has come to report a harassment. So this scenario would also discourage other women from coming forward. Building on trust is that the institutions need to learn to listen, protect, and respond with dignity. And what do I mean by that? Even if I choose to lodge the complaint through the religious or the traditional network or the formal justice system, the response, what I would expect or what we expect is that first listen. Do not diminish the impact or the gravity of what I am trying to put forward. Listen, be empathetic, and allow me voice my concerns. And then we look through the different layers of possibilities of responding to it, right? The third is the gap between policy and practice. We have wonderful laws. We have beautiful laws. We have beautiful policies. However, where are they being practicalized? Are they being operationalized? So again, in recent times, I've been having a conversation with some of our colleagues working within the space, and we're looking at the VAP. And you find that, okay, the VAP law passed into law, domesticated at the state level. However, how many people understand what the VAP law says? How many people, including practitioners, before we start talking about the average woman on the street or even the traditional ruler or the religious leader, what is the content of the VAP law? You find a lot of civil society organizations trying to push, advocate, create awareness around the VAP, but the state itself that has passed the law is doing little or nothing to create awareness on the content of the VAP law. When you bring all of this together, you now ask, what is the role? How do all of this feed into peacekeeping or peace building in local communities? Because when women do not have access or feel that the access is not there, or that the resources for gaining access is not adequate, and they do not have trust in the system, and then there are policies in place, the truth is that it seems as if nothing has been done. It seems as if we've not even scratched the surface of the issue. What can we do as women-led organizations? I'll tell you what we do as P1. And when we evaluate or assess the ecosystem, we also look within the policy and the legal framework to see what instruments exist that can be used to address some of this gap. So for the gap in the criminal justice system or the justice system, which starts at the police station level, that helps to deconstruct the procedure, that helps to give clarity to the processes, we house the police duty solicitor scheme at this point of level, at this entry point. So you find, yes, PDSS lawyers are supposed to be there providing legal aid services for indigent persons. But we went a step further and said, beyond indigent persons, provide services for women that come into the police station so that we demystify the procedure at the police station level. We bring these women in contact with states, representative of state institutions or state agencies, with the police, with the magistrates, with the correctional services, with traditional rulers, with religious leaders, so that they can have a dialogue and they can have a conversation. Out of that has come the mixed observers team. Our mixed observers team are women from these different agencies, so that the women see themselves in the formal agencies, and the engagement can be that of trust. It can be a seamless engagement that helps to address some of these issues. And then where we look at trust and policy and practice, where are the gaps? Where the gaps are in operationalizing certain nodes of the policies or the legal framework, we invest in those things and try to bring them to life. So, for example, within the administration of criminal justice law, we should have, each state should have a monitoring committee. That monitoring committee is representation from the different agencies that look at the issues holistically and provide solutions for their middle cadre officers to go back and implement. And I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Madam Kemi. I will come back to you on some of the issues that you raised, and one of them is the gap between policy and practices. And here we have Dr. Joseph Ochogu, who is leading the IPCR, an institution of government that is also involved in shaping government policies. Dr. Chogu, from a national perspective, how can your institute lead the systemic integration of women's rights into Nigeria's peace architecture, and what institutional actions are required to ensure their participation in mediation, peace building moves from symbolism to meaningful action?
Okay, thank you very much, Damian, our moderator, and just to commend Spring, for putting this together. I'll just try to delve straight on, into the issues that has been raised in terms of one, how to mainstream these issues, into not only policies. But I think that it's instructive also to first lay the foundation that while the work we do oftentimes, largely elitist, we also suffer the disconnect, from the people to which we need to serve. That is the average ordinary citizen in the street. And I think that is a major gap why we have good policies, but in terms of getting the mass mobilization of the people to buy into these policies are not really there. I think that we talked about VAP. And I think that with all honesty, if you look at the issue around VAP, majority of even the practitioners don't know the details of it, not to talk of even operationalizing it, in spite of the number of years that both donors and development community and some institutions, put into this thing. At the Institute, we work on the belief that if you make society better for women and for persons living with disability, you have a much more better society. If you look at the issues around access to justice that Kemi was talking about, you go to an average police station, it's not that it is only unfriendly to women, but it is also unfriendly to men. So in our engagements, we really have to be very intentional and deliberate on how, first and foremost, we work on individual transformations, individuals as change agents, because once you are able to transform an individual and that individual is a change agent, there is a minimal to which that person will accept in terms of not performing. The person obviously is going to perform and perform much more better. That we've seen even in the public sector that seems not to be delivering. Where you have people who are committed, dedicated, you find them as change agents. Then you move on to the level of institutional transformation or institutional change, because it's the people that are within the institutions that are actually going to galvanize and ensure that the institution deliver on its mandate, and the institution is also creative, flexible enough, to adapt to new changes, that are coming up within the space. So in the institute, we're working in an all-inclusive manner, ensuring that we're working top down and then bottom up. What that means is that we're not just working just as a policy advisory entity. We are also working, as an actioning, interventioning agency, with civil society organizations like a lot of you present in this place, as well as other government actors. I think that while at the federal level, some meaningful changes and gains, are being made, there is a substantial deficit, at the subnational level. And that's the truth. Not only for the debt.
We can't hear you again. Is it? Can anybody hear Dr. Chogi? Abayomi, can you check?
No, I'm unable to hear
Can
him.
you hear me?
I think he might be. We can hear you now,
Okay,
sir.
you have come back again now. Yeah.
You can't hear me?
We can hear you now.
You can't hear me?
We can
Okay,
hear
great,
you now.
Great. All right. So there is a very strong deficit at the subnational level. And I think that is why at the peacebuilding committee, we have been working with other actors like the UNDP, former NSRP, and other critical stakeholder to ensure that there is the presence of peacebuilding agencies at subnational levels for them to prioritize issues when it comes to women and mediation. And also the Institute had worked with United Nations Women to ensure as technical partners to come up with the Women, Peace and Security document, which we have the National Action Plan. I think they ratified the Tech National Action Plan last year, at the State House. Also with Youth Peace and Security national policy. So the point is how we are able to cascade this, to the subnational level, get the buy-in of the Nigerian Governors Forum, the buy-in, of the local government council, and then particularly how we begin to bring in the National Council of Women's Society, also into the work that we do, and get them to take ownerships, of some of these initiatives, women as mediators, women not just being a victim, but also valiants and players, within the peace and security architecture. It's something that we all need to push and push conscientiously, because some of the gains, like in the military cycle, for example, some of the gains that were made, I think during Jonathan's time, at some certain point, we'll begin to find some bit of reversal. Women, we have been made to go to the Defense Academy, not only as a supporting system, but even as a fighting women force. But someone come and then he says, no, women can't be in the front line of combat, and then reverses it. But, there is a change that happens when you put women and the resources that women bring to the board, in the area of peace and security. Once they participate shoulder to shoulder where men are, then it's difficult to discriminate them. But when you put them in the catering wing, in the medical corps, in the supply ordinance and the support system, then the discrimination continues. The point I'm trying to make is that in order not to reverse some of the gains that we are making, as a community of change agents that want to make sure that society move forward, we need to aggressively, also be involved in the system. Either more seats for women either in the legislature, in the governance, and ministerial appointments, and all that. We need to join forces together to ensure that we advocate for those things, that make it a proportional kind of representation, for women at different levels, even at local government council level. And also how we can begin to reduce these high negative incidences of patriarchy, religious and cultural norms that people weaponize to continue to undermine human rights, and all that. So we at the Institute, we are working at that level of policy, at that level of advocacy, and engaging, with different stakeholders to ensure that at least the incremental progress we are making is sustained, and then we can advance, further also the progress we are making, and not just to stop at Abuja level, but how we are able to cascade this thing down to the subnational level and the local community level. I think those are paramounts. I will stop here for now.
Thank you, Dr. Perspective that you provide. To know that TR is considering changes at the national level. It's to
Hello, Mr. Damien.
Yeah.
I can't hear you, Damien.
We couldn't hear you just then.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please. Could you repeat what you said?
Okay, I say thank you to Dr. Ochogu, and it's good to learn that IPCR is not just concentrating their changes, push for changes at the national level, but also at the state and community level. But I will come back to probe further on that in the course of this discussion. I'm moving on to Dr. Chris Agoha. Dr. Chris, drawing from both international mediation practices and your work in Nigeria, how can we design peace processes that ensure women's rights aren't just an add-on, but a primary priority in every dialogue initiative?
Thank you, Damien. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me join my other colleagues who have spoken to commend the Spring for bringing this kind of discussion. From HD, we are really very delighted that we were able to contribute to this important discourse, not just as a peace mediation organization, but also as a consortium member of the Spring. So we welcome this discussion. Yeah, Damien, the question that has been posed has two elements. One element is the international mediation practices. The other component is how HD Nigeria design its peace processes. I think, if you allow me, let me add a third dimension, and that would be my point of departure. The third dimension is to ask the question, why the justification for women's involvement in peace processes? And it needs to be underscored that, yes, women actually face systemic and structural barriers, and that is why they have to be actively involved. Two is that in terms of demographics, their number justifies their inclusion on the table of peace mediation effort. And then finally is the fact that they bear the greatest brunt of any conflict situation. And that is probably for HDY, we zeroed in by looking at bottom-up approach, because that is where we find a large population suffering from consequences of war, and then you really need to bring them up to speed to know their rights, their duties and privileges, what they should do, So that's the foundation I want to lay. Then in terms of international mediation practices, I mean, this we know that when you are talking about international mediation practices, it involves a lot. And as a matter of fact, research has shown that women involvement in peace agreements are more sustainable in terms of its durability. There are core examples internationally, given my experiences of having to work within the United Nations. Again, women comprise only about 9.6% negotiators in terms of their strength in all this, 13.7% as mediators, and then 26.6% as signatories to a peace agreement. This is statistics provided by UN Women in 2023. So given this trajectory, you can see that they are somehow marginalized in this process, given this. But again, in reality, realistically speaking, women are often, in terms of peace processes internationally, they are often more effective in obtaining binding and durable peace settlements wherever they are involved in the mediation process. Examples are abound where women are involved in peace processes. Although you can say within the context of Africa, there are limitations, again, limitations because of the patriarchal nature of our society. But again, one needs to underscore this. The inclusion of women also in peace negotiation sort of increases the likelihood of long-lasting agreements when they are fully included and their voices are heard and taken on board. The last component I want to talk about is you talked about HD design processes. I mean, we have a very unique process in terms of our mediation work, in order to include women. This is our, what I call, we have what we call innovative part for our process. And that has to look at how we engender in our programs by ensuring gender inclusion and gender and inclusion in dialogue and mediation processes. For instance, where you have 6 people who are men, 6 people will ensure that at least there's one woman in the process. So this is the starting point from where we draw our designs. And in terms of our pre-dialogue processes, we do indicate to our critical stakeholders that we will not be able to do any successful mediation if women are not represented on the table. So these are part of the requirement we want our stakeholders to bear in mind that in the absence of women, we don't think we'll continue. And we do it in such a way that we build their trust, we build their confidence in the process in what we are doing. So again, in the course of our dialogue and mediation, we have what we call women steering committees along in locations where we're doing this mediation work and where we have even signed agreements. That is to say, in this case, a woman is ready to chair this peace steering committee, and the chairperson will then have to consult to make sure that the views of other women are brought to the table in terms of discussions during dialogue and mediation processes. Moving forward, also linked to this is the fact, which is very crucial, is the fact that we need to build capacity and mentor young girls to ensure that women's sustainability in peace dialogue and mediation is upheld. Because if you don't mentor, if you don't build their capacity, they will not have the strength, the energy, and the intellect capacity to be involved. So you need to bring them up so that they can be able to understand the basic rudiments of negotiation, the basic rudiments of mediation, so that they can contribute effectively to subnational or national discourse. It is also important to note that we look at the traditional institutions who are the first port of entry, port of call when we enter in a community, because they are the custodian of culture and tradition. And if you want to get real mandate, the moment they give you that mandate, you are good to go. But again, it is also incumbent on them to live by example. So what we try to do is that we compare the traditional rulers that we must work with women. And so it becomes imperative that we work with wives of traditional rulers to break some of the cultural barriers which we experience in many societies. So the moment other stakeholders, I mean the male folks, now sees that traditional rulers are able to release their wives to go and engage in mediation, that will then open the door for others to participate. Part of what we do in bringing women together annually is what we organize a Women Peace Forum. These women are drawn from network of women steering committees and other women leadership who congregate annually to come and discuss issues about women and also to network. So it is important that we look at this broadly to say that we are not just looking at local level. At a point, we also bring women from these broader groups to come and discuss issues. And from there, communiques are issued on what women should focus on. And then also people from the government are invited so that also they know that these are the kind of things that women have discussed, what they have found that is lacking, and all that. So we also encourage in our design process he for she aspect of our work. He for she meaning that we have usually, some cases, we have more men, we bring more men on the table to discuss issues about women empowerment and their participation in peace processes. So maybe let me stop at this point as I expect questions, and then also if time is given, I'll come back to my discourse. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Chris, thank you for those perspectives. And our esteemed audience, please, you can begin to drop your questions, your comments in the question and segment for us to pick them up and put them up to our able panelists. Okay, thank you, Dr. Chris, for those perspectives. I will come to you now, Dr. Ochogu, Dr. Joseph Ochogu, as the Director General of the leading National Peace Institute in Nigeria. What is your one priority recommendation for strengthening the implementation of the Women Peace Security Agenda within Nigeria's peace building framework? Dr. Joseph. Dr. Chogu, did you hear me? Is it here?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay. Did you get your question?
Yes, I got your question.
Okay.
I think my number one recommendation and most important recommendation, first and foremost, is the prioritization of the National Action Plan on Human Peace and Security, and then the cascading of that to across the subnational entities and the local entities, and to get the buy-in, of subnational actors, religious and traditional bodies into that document. Once we're able to get that done, a lot of the work we are doing, becomes a bit much more easier, in terms of how we activate it. I think for me, that is going to be one of the major priority, how we're able to get the human peace and security national action plan. Before some states were able to do certain work, we need to prioritize it and then get it running.
Who is to lead this prioritization, Dr. Chogu?
Yes, already we are working with the Ministry of Women, Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, on the issue of WPS, the National Action Plan. The next level of action is how we are able to cascade it, but we know that there is a very strong funding deficit, when it comes to funding soft and powerful actions, like this, because of it's not really tangible. and the resistance it puts. I think that's the gap. That is the gap that organizations like Spring and other donor agencies and other development actors like CHD, P1, and other things, can fill in, can fill the gap, and then together we can make these things work, and then get governments also to buy in terms of budgeting line, to ensure its sustainability and continuity. If partners are not there, then we've already built the capacities of states, subnational actors, and all that, to continue with this. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Ochogu. Please, our participants, the floor is open now for your questions. Please write them out following the discussion that is going on here. We implore you to do that. Dr. Ochogu, you have outlined the people you say you need to do something in order to prioritize the WPS framework work within Nigeria's system. At the state level, I know your work is at the national level. At the state level and local government level, what are the key agencies you think need to also do something, and what do you think they can do to make this? If we call it a national framework, it implies that it is for Nigeria, both at the federal, at the state, and the local government level. So at these two levels, state and local government level, what are those key organizations that need to do something to ensure it is prioritized, and what do you think that they can do?
I think in the last 3 weeks, I've been on subnational level advocacy, to different actors at those levels. So we're looking at national state security agencies at the subnational levels. We need their working, we need their buy-in, we need other agencies to, like the National Orientation Agency, that are present in the local areas. So we're working at the national level with other national actors at the subnational level when it comes to issues of peace and security, and then traditional institutions, religious organizations, very essential, and youth and women groups in those local levels there. And then we can get the kind of mileage, that we desire to achieve.
Thank you, Doctor. Let me also inform our audience that one of our panelists is still having issues logging in. She sent her apologies, and she's still trying hard to join. Once she joins, we will let you know. That is this DCC Kemi Ajit. So we hope that she joined on time before we round up. Thank you. So let me come to you. Thank you, Dr. Joseph Ochogu. Let me come to you, Madam Kemi. You have outlined a lot of things, the gaps, and what P1, your organization, and the other women-led organizations are doing in the communities to bridge the gaps. So for you, what concrete action would you recommend ensuring institutional accountability for the protection of women's rights at the grassroots level? Madam Kemi.
Institutional accountability at the grassroots level, right?
At the grassroots level, yes.
I would also tie it to the National Action Plan. So the National Action Plan should not stay at the national level. Some states have state action plans, but one of the things we hardly see are local action plans, which brings the National Action Plan to the local government level, where one would say the rubber hits the road. I think if we can further domesticate the National Action Plan at the local government level, so that we have the local action plan, it would be a good one. Then the other one would be when we have a data monitoring system. So the dashboard system we have presently is based also at the state level. For the states that have brought it down to the state level, you have at the national level with the Ministry of Women Affairs, then at the state level at the Ministry of Women Affairs. But at that local government level, there has to be something that allows us to capture the data effectively at the local government level. It helps us to see the trends, it helps us to see the patterns, it helps us to see where the real gaps are, not consolidated gaps, and would also allow us prefer effective response that is localized to the needs at that local government level. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that. You talked about the lack of the local action plans at the local government level. Why are these lacking, if I may ask? And who needs to do something? What actors and what do they need to do to ensure effectiveness of these local action plans at the local level?
The reason it's the local action plan is still lacking, I would say again, for most of the states that have state action plans, they were donor driven. It's not like it was the state government that came up and said, oh, we need to do this, right? And because within our governance system, our local government architecture is fast eroding. However, it seems like this administration has an interest in the local government structure.
Okay.
So it's with the interest in ensuring and establishing the mechanisms that allows a local government system to thrive, right? That we would be able to achieve this. Who are the actors? All of us playing at the national level would still be the same set of people playing at the local government level. But I love what Professor Chogu said when he brought in the National Council for Women's Society. You know, these are structures that exist across. You have representatives at the local government, at the state, and at the national level. So some of the structures that have presence, you know, across should also be co-opted into the conversation and into the work. Thank you.
I think I lost out at some point, Madam Kemi. I lost out at some point where you said all of us, but I didn't hear that the following things that who those all of us, what those all of us can do.
Okay. When I said all of us, I meant, at least within the development ecosystem. So the women-led organizations, the Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, the donors, right? The donors also need to be interested in where the issue really is, right? And where the rubber hits the road. Then I also said that the structures that already have presence across, like the National Council for Women's Society that Professor Chogu mentioned. They have structures at the local government level, they have structures at the subnational and at the national level. Some of these structures need to also be co-opted into the conversation and be given a role, you know, on how to drive the implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kim. Let me also reiterate that we are hoping to see your questions. Abayomi, my colleague, and Yasmin, please let us know when somebody's hand is up to ask a question, or they'll put up a question in the question and answer section, please. Let me ask Dr. Chris. You talked about donor involvement, and Madam Kemi talked about donor involvement, and also even Dr. Joseph Ochogo. And we know the situation with the donor funding world now, that it is shrinking. So what creative things that can be done both at the local level, at the state level, and at the national level to up the framework, the WPS framework, in this situation that we find ourselves, that the donor interventions are going down. So what are the creative options that you can recommend for Nigerians, both at this level, to do to ensure that the tempo is not lowered? Dr. Chris. Dr. Chris Agon, can you hear me?
Yes, Damian. Thank you very much. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Damian. Thank you very much. Yeah, my co-panelists have talked about the need for the domestication of the National Action Plan by all states. It is important, but let us all agree here that it is not a charity, not a favor, or even a privilege to involve women in peace processes, but it should be regarded as a right for them to be involved. And then when you are now talking about donor landscape, it is important that most donors are looking forward to this issue we are discussing today. To what extent are women involved in decision-making processes? For instance, the German has what we call feminist foreign policy. And when you hear about feminist foreign policy, it's all about how women are involved in decision-making processes, from conception of the decision to its completion. Not just a question of their number, but how is their voices being heard. So this is very, very important. And again, let me give one example, and not to say that one is being over ambition or too much expectation. I think there's the need to, at this point within our country, to emulate the Kenyan style or the Kenyan approach, in which case you earmark certain positions, either in parliament or in the executive branch of government, for only women to contest during elections. By this way, you can really empower the women that, yes, they are being given equal rights, they are given, their voice is being given. So going back to answer your question, yes, in terms of donor landscape, what should be looking at now is what are those issues, what are those areas of interest that donors are keen in investing their money. So, of course, women participation in governance and leadership is critical. Women's rights is critical. The girl child education is critical. So these are some of the advice one will have to give. Of course, part of the work strand, one of the work strand of the spring looks at this dimension. So it's something that we should put forward, not just within the spring consortium, but at the subnational and national levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. Abayomi, I will invite you to, and Yasmin, to read our questions, and also those that have their hands up to put up their questions to the panelists. Thank you, Abayomi.
Thank you, Mr. Damian. And thank you to our panelists for such an interesting and insightful discussion. So we have a question from Elizabeth, and this is saying that she's asking, is the Women's Steering Committee at the national level or also at the state level? So which of our panelists would like to answer this?
Madam Kemi, can you help with this question?
I think I mentioned.
Okay, Dr. Chris.
Yeah, I think I mentioned Women's Steering Committee. And in the context in which I mentioned Women's Steering Committee is the fact that during our dialogue and mediation processes, they are involved. We try to bring them on board so that they give their own perspective of the key conflict issues we are discussing. So this is mainly at the subnational level, particularly mirroring on women at the grassroots level, since our methodology is bottom-up approach. So we focus mainly women from the grassroots level, and then also women at the subnational level forming this peace steering committee. So I think that explains my perspective on this.
Thank you, Dr. Chris.
Thank you. Jasmine, go ahead.
Just to point out, Victoria has had her hands up. Please, can you type in your question so I can say it when it comes? Our next question now is from Abayomi, and it says, as much as our lives and the world moves online, how can we ensure our peace and justice institutions evolve to protect women and girls from digital violence and technology-facilitated threats?
I didn't hear that.
Should I go again?
Yes, I hope if our Madam Kemi and Chris are taking notes of the questions. Repeat it again so that they can take note.
Okay. So as much as our lives and the world moves online, how can we ensure our peace and justice institutions evolve to protect women and girls from digital violence and technology-facilitated threats?
Madam Kemi. Okay.
Yes, please. I think in some cases we have laws, right? It's the way the laws are being implemented. So the Cybercrime Act, right, is one of such laws that is supposed to protect people from form of harassment online. It's the skewed way that we have chosen to implement the Cybercrime Act. So again, it comes down to the process of us understanding, let me not use the technical term in the technical jargon of our space, which is mapping and understanding what exists. Is it that we don't have any laws, or is it that our challenge is implementation, such that the people that are supposed to implement or operationalize, do they understand that this is part of their purview, right? That the Cybercrime Act goes beyond how we are using it presently. That is one. The other element of it is also the peace and security institutions or the ecosystem. I'm also of the school of thought that we need to have a collaboration between thematic and sector. So I can be in this sector, but I do not have an understanding of the thematic area. So a bit of collaboration with those that understand, that are in colleagues that are working within the digital protection space. Because I know that there are some of my colleagues, also women-led organizations, that are working on digital rights and other related issues. How do they bring their voice or their knowledge to play within the peace building and the security sector space, public safety security space that we work in? It's that collaboration that needs to take place. But do we have laws? The laws are there. Is it being properly implemented? No. So it's for us again to ensure that it's implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kemi. Any more questions?
I can add my voice to this question, just to complement Kemi's response, is to say that both digital space and the cyber crime aspect there are issues that exacerbate conflict within our polity. And one thinks that it is something that has to fall within the purview of policy formulation. What are the policies necessary to mitigate this? And when you are talking of policies, I strongly believe that within the exclusive and concurrent list of our constitution, those who are within that space should be able to initiate this. What other organizations might be doing, NGOs and others, should be complementary. But I strongly believe that this is an area which, as all of us know, has caused more harm in recent time in terms of the proliferation of crime and criminality within the country, and also the net effect is the fact that women and children are the most affected. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. I see Goodness Ajit. Your hand is up. Can you please? You have.
Yes. Sorry, my name is Ikemi Alawajet. So sorry for joining a bit late. It was because of technical issues. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. You're welcome, Madam Kemi.
Okay, so it's not Goodness, it's Kemi Ajit. I have to use yeah, so sorry about that.
No problem.
But please, I would like to add my voice to TFGBV actually. At least this is what I've been able to hear for now, before I now make my own voice known. You know, TFGBV is another trend in GBV right now. And it is important to know that TFGBV is not a respecter of persons.
Madam Kemi, what do you mean by TFGBV?
That is technology
for the sake of our participants.
Yes, technology facilitated gender-based violence.
Good. Go ahead.
Yes. You know, TFGBV is not a respecter of persons. It's not a respecter of title, location, culture, gender. And that is why it is important that we must intentionally work to stop this menace, because that is what is trending. For example, you can be in a space, we all have meetings in hotels, you know, accommodated in hotels. We don't know what is being planted within even the restroom. And the worst part of it is that the perpetrators always have a target. And we must look for every means to stop them. And that was the reason why, as an organization, recently we just launched our gender policy 2, which was extremely supported by the Spring team lead. And part of what we have identified as gap is this technology facilitated gender-based violence, which is not even in part of the indicators of GBV. It's not too pronounced. And we must take into consideration that this trend, this menace must be eradicated as quick as possible, because the perpetrators that are using this, they always have targets. And who are their targets? Most times they are the elites. So that is what I want to add to this TFGBV. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kemi Ajit. And just to announce to our participants that she just joined, that is the DCC Kemi Ajit from the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps. Thank you for joining and talking about technology facilitated gender-based violence. You started mentioning some of the things, and that is leading to the question I wanted that we have for you, that as a paramilitary institution, what are those specific internal reforms in your NSCDC implementing to secure the system, to ensure that the systems respond effectively to violence against women? And how are you improving gender responsiveness in your collaboration with local communities where you work?
Okay. Yes, first, it is important to understand that the Corps has institutionalized gender mainstreaming, you know, by developing and implementing the NSCDC gender policy 2, which I've earlier mentioned.
Yeah.
And this provides a framework for integrating gender perspectives into operational, administrative, and decision-making process. You know, and with what we have on ground, having the he for she as our Commandant General, the Commandant General of NSCDC, Professor Ahmed Abakaudi, MNIOFR, he has been so supportive into making sure that women, girls are well protected, including the persons with disability. Because the first thing we should understand is that persons with disability are most vulnerable. Having in mind that the perpetrators always engage them using their vulnerability status. So the Corps has established gender units and appointed gender desk officers across the state commands, including 774 local governments in Nigeria, who serves as a focal person, as a focal point to addressing all these cases of gender-based violence. And this, it is interesting to know that the gender desk officers across the state, they are professionals, they are trained, though we still need more training. But from inception, the Commandant General made it known to everyone that the Corps must have zero tolerance to violence and harassment in workplace, and which includes the technology facilitated gender-based violence. And this addresses every human being on earth. So we have taken it as part of the core mandate to protect life, and property. It's part of the core mandate to arrest, with or without warrants, investigate and institute legal proceedings against any person found in criminal activity. And gender-based violence is one of the criminal activity that we know that must be treated with all hands on deck. We cannot do it alone. We must work in tandem with all other security agencies, including the community. We all know that NSCDC is a grassrooted organization. First, we don't even stay in the barracks. We stay among the people where we get information, intelligence gathering. It's very easy for us to get information from the community. Why? Because of the name that it connotes, Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. So I want to let you know that the Commandant General is not resting, is making sure that all areas are protected according to the mandate of the Corps. And additionally, the NSCDC prioritizes training and capacity development for officers on gender-sensitive issues. From the inception, now we want to make sure that even from our recruitment, the training aspect of it, we want to make sure that all officers and men understand what gender-based violence is all about. So we are incorporating it into our training manual, so that everybody, wherever you are, whether you are in gender unit or you are in intelligence, you are in operation, you are wherever, you must understand what gender-based violence is all about and be able to protect life and property according to the mandate of the Corps. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Kemi. We'll come back to you, but before then, let me ask my colleague, Yasmin, to read out questions from our participants audience here. Please, Yasmin, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Damian. So our next question we have is from Elizabeth, and it says, how can women be protected when no access provided, trust being broken, and this violence continues and her voice not heard?
I will allow both Madam Kemi of NSCDC and Kemi Okonide to answer that when access is not provided. And riding on that question, Madam Kemi, NSCDC, you talked about the gender desks where you work. Are there, and we are dealing with talking about technology facilitated gender-based violence. Do you have some technology driven platforms where people can report issues of gender-based violence as an easier access to people today?
Yes, we have. Presently, we have our high city is working in tandem with us. And that's in that perspective, we are working to making sure that we enhance the capacity of officers working in that regard, to addressing this technology facilitated gender-based violence. We all know that this is a new trend that is upcoming, and we must attack it as quick as possible. So that was the part of the reason why the core identified it as quick as possible to factor it into the new gender policy that was launched. And we have our structure on ground, for proper reporting of cases that aligns with that TFGBV. At the state level, we have our high city, at the national coordinates. So gender across the state of the federation works in tandem with the ICT department to making sure that every report sent will be addressed as quick as possible. And at the state level, we have numbers that the people can call. Even at the national, we have number that people can call, but not a toll-free line, actually, but it is accessible to everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, Yasmin, can you repeat that question again? Or so that Madam Kemi P1 can also come in. Please.
Okay. So she said, how can women be protected when no access provided, trust being broken, and this violence continues and our voices not heard?
Thank you. Madam Kemi Okonedo.
That's why we're here. Where access is denied, how can we be protected when access is not there, trust is broken, and the policies are not working? Am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why we're here, because when all of that is not in place, you need to put it in place, and that's the whole essence of this conversation. First, we identify where is the first, who are the gatekeepers for this access, and earlier on I'd said gatekeepers are formal and informal. Formal gatekeepers, the police, NSCDC, the law enforcement agencies, the first responders in the justice, the formal justice network, the informal justice, the informal gatekeepers are the traditional rulers, are the religious leaders. In some cases, the heads of families are also informal gatekeepers. So they need to appreciate the fact that protection, as Dr. Chris said, is not, they're not doing women a favor, they're not doing us a favor. Protection is a fundamental right. If we even just roll back and look at the Constitution provides right to life, right to dignity of person, fair hearing, freedom of expression. For the core ones, for this conversation we're having, I tell people that if you pick right to life and right to dignity of person, and you address these two fundamental rights, and to operationalize it and make it real to every member to every citizen, including women, then the protective framework will be in place. I don't know if I've answered her question, because it's basically all that we're doing, that trust has been broken, policies seem not to be working, access is not there. That's the essence of all the programming and all the interventions that you Spring, P1, HDI and collaborating with the formal actors to get them to do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kemi. And before I take the last question for the NSCDC gender personnel, I wanted her to throw more light. She said that they have a line where people can access and complain about SGBV, but it is not free. Madam Kemi Ajit, did I hear that?
Yes. Yes.
If it is not free, if it is not free, is it then creating access, because it's creating issues, challenges to access that we have been discussing here? So why is it not free?
That is, we're working on that to making sure that we work in tandem with the relevant stakeholders to make it work perfectly. We are working on that now so that everyone will have access to justice using such avenue. So it's not I told you earlier that we identified it as a gap now, and that is why we are putting every mechanism in place to have all necessary intervention made available to every woman being that is living. So we are not relenting on that, but for now, it's not a toll-free line. But very soon we are going to have a toll-free line in regards to that.
Why is it not free?
I say it's not a toll-free line for now, but we have numbers that people can call. For example, now even in police, even on platforms, they will send you numbers that people can call in case of emergency. That is what we have for now across the state. Okay. But what I'm assuring you now is that for this kind of trend, especially on GBV, we are moving to making sure that we have the toll-free line so that every woman being can have access to it, to call in case of such event.
Okay, Madam Kemi, before we go last to the audience and participants for questions, what practical recommendation will you propose to strengthen the working relationship between security institutions and women's rights organizations in promoting safety for women and girls?
Okay. Yes. One of the recommendations I will give is that it is important that we work together. Community-based intervention is key to addressing issues of security. Most of the intelligence that comes in especially on cases of GBV, they come mostly from the community. And that is why I said earlier on that NSCDC is rooted in the community. We have we work with the grassroots. So working with states, working with national, states, and community is key. And in that structure, at the national, it is important that we have what we call or enhance what we already have in place. That is National Technical Working Group, which comprises of MDAs, from different sectors. We have community leaders. We have faith-based organization within us. We have the traditional rulers within us. And at the state level, it is important that we work in tandem to having the strong enablement environment to make this state technical working group function. Because it's not that we don't have it. It's for fact it was the Ministry of Women Affairs that established that, and we are moving together to making sure that these technical working groups are effective to addressing all cases of GBV and protecting mostly women and girls and the persons with disability across the state of the Federation. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kemi. And I will add to say that another way of working with other organizations is to see where those toll-free lines like NAPTIP and other security organizations, you guys can link it together and maybe put it together on your own platform so that people can also know that it is I don't know the right word to use, interagency collaboration, so that if we're talking about access and it is NSCDC that is closer to a rural woman and you are asking her to pay 10 naira, you can actually also promote NAPTIP number that is free or any other agency number that is free. That is the way we can break these barriers of access to justice for women, especially in the rural area.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we are gradually coming to the end of this, and I will refer back to my colleagues Yasmin and Bayomi if there are questions or hands up from our participants, so that they can put it before we wrap up. Yasmin, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Damian. So we have a question from Okeri. Okeri, thank you. And Okeri is asking, what progress has been made at the local government and community level in advancing the rights of women and girls? So this is there are two questions, but this is the first part. So I'll start with this part and then I'll go to the second section.
Again, please. Can you repeat that again?
What progress has been made at the local government and community level in advancing the rights of women and girls?
Madam Kemi Okoyodo, I think I will put that to you because I know your organization P1 is working in some states like Niger states and in local government and in communities there. And you can please tell us what progress have been made and how this progress can be replicated across other places. Then before you come with the second part of the question. Thank you. Madam Kemi, over to you.
Thank you very much. I think first let me use Niger State as an example. So for example, in Niger State, all the deputy, the vice local government chair in Niger State, I stand corrected, are women. That's a proactive step that has been taken by the state government. The government has also, they've also developed their state action plan that I believe they are launching in a couple of, maybe next week, I believe. So that's an example for us to look at in Niger, also within Niger and in some other states that we have worked. I made mention of the mixed observers team. And the whole idea around the mixed observers team is to have female representatives of the state agencies come together like a joint task force, but they're all women. And it makes it easier for them to engage at the community level. It also makes it easier for them to also interface as a bridge between the women and their own agencies. Should I go on? You also have in some of the police stations, Niger inclusive, and I think we also have them in Kebbi, Katsina, and maybe Plateau, where we have police duty solicitors at the police stations, and they are stationed there to provide legal services for indigent persons, particularly women that come into the police stations for one thing or the other. I'll round up now by saying that we have what we call the legal aid clinic. And for us at P1, legal aid services is not at the end when we represent you in court. Legal aid services start at the community level when we get into the community to sensitize and educate members of the public, particularly women, on issues that are of germane interest to their public safety. So sexual gender-based violence can be one. So you find maybe we would have messages around maybe around Ramadan. You don't send your girl child to go alone to go and give food to the neighbor without her going with her brother or an older person, or you send a more matured person. You know, certain things that we do that we feel are cultural or normal, but basically could be red flags, or if care is not taken, can make people vulnerable to being abused or harassed. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Kemi, for listing out those key progress that have been made in those states. The legal aid representation, the police duty solicitor scheme for, especially for women and girls in rural communities. And I know that if we ask other panelists here, HD will have stories to tell. The NSCDC will also have stories to tell, but because of time, we will not have that round of opportunities for the different panelists to reel out the progress that have been made. But we know that progress have been made. So, but we go on now to the last questions before we begin to round up. Yasmin, over to you for the next question.
Thank you, Mr. Damian. So the second part of this question says, what roles should donors, local authorities, and community leaders play in strengthening access to justice and ensuring that women are meaningfully involved in decision-making processes that affect their lives and communities? Should I go again?
Yes, please.
Go again.
Yes, please.
Okay. So what roles should donors, local authorities, and community leaders play in strengthening access to justice and ensuring that women are meaningfully involved in decision-making processes that affect their lives and communities?
Chris Ago and Kemi, this question I think should be directed to two of you. Whoever wants to go first.
Briefly, what I can say is that in terms of donors, is to continue to see this area as very important and critical, and continue to provide funding so that these issues can be addressed, particularly at the local levels. For community leaders, I think they should upscale this, maybe through intense advocacy to the authorities while they are performing their own role as traditional rulers and community leaders. They should also follow it with a strong advocacy to highlight the consequences of these ills. And I think those are some of the comments I have to make with respect to the donors and then community leaders. Thank you.
Okay, Madam Kemi.
I would say that we need to move beyond just talking to women and maybe women-led or women-driven organizations for consultation, as you know. But we need to get to the point of seeing women as partners in designing solutions and in implementing programs and monitoring accountability, you know, because they will see from different parts of the spectrum. I think also the conversation with government, that's not a tokenism issue. And I think that's part of the challenge we still continue to have, that, okay, if you have one here, two here, three there, it's good. We want to move beyond the numbers to even the quality of the women that are being put forward. So not just there for the fun of being there, but there with the ability to be able to participate, with the ability to be able to engage effectively, having it at the back of our minds. And I think this is also a conversation we need to have with the women, that when you get into that space, you're not just representing yourself, you're not representing a political party, you're not there by virtue of favor. You have it at the back of your mind that you carry on your shoulders 100 and something or more women that have not had the opportunity of stepping into that space. So you must represent effectively, you must engage effectively. And I would finally say that we engage across party lines, across ethnic groups, across religious inclination, whatever the barriers could be. We shouldn't see those barriers, knowing that you are representing a subset of people that have been marginalized and have not had the opportunity of being of getting that close to the corridors of power or are on the table, so that the issues are clearly put on the table outside religion, outside politics, outside whatever other issues could be that could taint it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemi, and also to our esteemed participants. Thank you so much, Yasmin and Abayomi. If there are no other questions, we should be wrapping up, right?
There are a few more questions. I think we can take maybe one or two and then wrap up, if that's fine with everyone. Our next question is from. Okay, sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
Okay, next question is from Olatunde. His question is, what's level of advocacy in creating awareness on rights and justice of women and girls with disabilities in moving forward in line with WPS? Should I take that again?
Yes, take it again.
What level of advocacy is being done to create awareness on rights and justice for women and girls with disabilities in moving forward in line with WPS, that's Women, Peace and Security?
I will ask Dr. Chris and Kemi to take this. Advocacy is what civil society do. So Dr. Chris and Kemi, okay, please.
Unfortunately, my organization does not do advocacy, but what we do is to strengthen these processes through our dialogue and mediation efforts. I think we regularly, part of our program, as I said, we have gender and inclusion strand in our work. So what we do is to popularize this aspect when we are doing dialogue and mediation processes. And through that, we know we are doing some level of advocacy. But again, those organizations who do us effectively, whose advocacy is part of their mandate, will be in a better position to know at the level of advocacy. But let me also say that in terms of the quantum, I don't think it's something that can be measured. I don't know what the person who's acting level of advocacy, is it in terms of quantum or in terms of awareness creation, not necessarily how many times, but are you talking of the quality of advocacy or the number of advocacy that has been embarked on or that is being conducted? For me, I think it's the key message is that has to be delivered, whether it's getting to the right people or not. And a measure of it is to aggregate whether the people who are supposed to get this message, it gets to them, and then the feedback coming from them is something that will be positive. Otherwise, the advocacy without such a measured outcome would be an effort in futility. I think this is my own perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. Kemi, do you want to add something on top, please?
Yes, I would say that if I hear the question right, it goes through the lens of there's no homogeneous gender group. And women with disability are also, should I say, a subset of the women group. And how are we pushing for inclusivity to the extent that women with disability also have a seat on the table and they are effectively participating in this conversation? I would say that this was something we identified in P1. And because of that, one of the ways we've tinkered with our programming is to have an MOU with another organization that works on disability rights, so that whatever it is that we're churning out in P1, we'd look at it through that lens, through the disability lens, to ensure that it is properly at the point of conceptualization. Persons with disability, women with disability are integrated in the concept, in the proposal, in the project from inception, not an add-on at the point of implementation or participation, that when we send out invitations, then you're saying how many women are here, how many women are there, how many persons with disability, which is what we tend to do. So I would say that we still need a little bit of work in that angle, because I'm not sure we're as intentional and deliberate as we ought to be to see that it is not a homogeneous group and that persons with disability are not to be serviced at the end of the pipeline, that you are delivering services to them as victims or survivors. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say, but from the beginning, that they are participating from conceptualization into implementation from the whole spectrum. Thank you.
Thank you. Abayomi, is that the last one question? Abayomi, are you there? Abayomi? Hello, Abayomi? Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, Abayomi, is that the last question? Yasmin, my colleagues over there, I can't hear any one of them. Abayomi or Yasmin, are you guys there?
I think they've dropped off.
I don't know. I think they dropped off too.
Yeah, I think
it's network.
But I think, can I add my voice to this persons with disability?
Please do,
yes,
as
so,
we round up now.
Yes, so please, it is important for us to understand that we are not only looking at the persons with disability in the area of weakness.
Yeah.
It is important for us to begin to look at their area of strength, which is key to socio-economic impact in the country. They are not victims. They are also strengthened to impact the country. And I will let the House know that if you look through the word of God in 2 Kings 3, I think 17, we remember how 4 lepers rescued Samaria, from famine. God did not isolate them. He looked at their area of strength. He empowered them. So we need to begin to bring out the best out of them, to making sure that persons with disability, they are not sidelined or looked down on, but we must begin to engage them in their area of strength, to giving back to this country. Over 17,000 persons with disability. Just imagine what they can do in this country. And we can begin to cluster them in their area of strength. That is what is happening outside the country now. There is nobody that that is not useful. You know, so it is important that we must not only be identifying with them in the area of weakness, but we must begin to identify them in the area of their strength. That is my take for this moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Kemi Ajit, for that contribution. Abayomi, are you back? So that we can round up. Are you back?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
What's the last one?
The last question is from Kira.
We have 5 minutes to leave here.
Okay. What actions have been taken to ensure survivors of GBV or SGBV are not further traumatized by the reporting and justice systems? And what? Okay, I think we'll start. It's a two-part question, so we'll start with that and then ask the second part. So what actions have been taken to ensure survivors of GBV and SGBV are not further traumatized by the reporting and justice systems?
Can we put that to Kemi Ajit? You guys, reports come to you, people bring complaints to you. After you receive the complaint, what happens? Are there structures in place to ensure that they are not further traumatized?
Yes, we have structure in place. And part of the structure is to make sure that perpetrators don't go unpunished. In fact, we have so many cases, prosecuted cases across the state in regards to sexual and gender-based violence. In fact, at times, many times, the gender desk officers call me at night to tell me what they are doing, the survivor, what they have done for the survivor, the perpetrator, how they have sentenced them, you know. So perpetrators can never go unpunished. The survivors, we have already put a resilience mechanism to making sure that, you know, because if you look at the trauma grid connected to GBV, you know, many of it is like, it has deliberate self-harm, you know, isolation, withdrawal, you know, even suicide thoughts. It goes to them. So what we have been able to put the mechanism into place to making sure that perpetrators don't go unpunished. And we work in tandem with NAPTIP. You know, we have this register domesticated in their office, name and shame. So by the time as we are getting them, we are sending the report to NAPTIP, you know, their pictures and every other thing. So that those, by the time you know that your name, your picture, and the punishment will be made known to the public, there will be repel to such attitude and to such acts. So that is what we have been able to do as an organization. Perpetrators don't get punished, and the survivors get justice. Thank you.
Okay. But Abayami, what was the second question? Because we are pressed with time.
Okay, so the second part of the question is, what more could be done to foster a more positive and collaborative relationship between the justice system and survivors, especially when it comes to preserving survivors' psychosocial health? So what more could be done to foster a more positive and collaborative relationship between the justice system and survivors, especially when it comes to preserving their psychosocial health? Over.
Madam Kemi, okay.
Yeah,
This
if I
sounds
may.
like something that you can, yes.
I initially I was going to say one of the mechanisms to ensure that victims are not traumatized is the sexual assault referral centers that have been set up across the country. And the SACs have all the critical stakeholders that are trained working in this one-stop place. So they also provide psychosocial support. So psychosocial support is supposed to be one of the mechanisms, one of the services that survivors are supposed to be able to draw from the from the SACs. So for the justice system, if we say the justice system, we're talking about all of them. It's being able to identify the SACs, also being able to ensure the SACs are functioning effectively, right? And that there are people on roster and on call to provide the necessary support that victims need. For colleagues that run shelters, one of the things they share with us is that they don't close, right? So it's 24/7. Dorothy Jamanze's shelter, they get called in the middle of the night. But one of the challenges I see with the SACs is that they close and go home. They need to understand that the kind of services that they need to provide cannot allow them not have somebody on call at a particular time, particularly the social workers and maybe those that are trained to provide psychosocial support. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, our panelists. I say that because of time, I know if we leave it running, we can, because of the engaging nature of the discussion, we can run from now till 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. But because of the time for our panelists and also for the participants, we'll be drawing the curtain close here. And I want to say thank you to our esteemed panelists, Kemi Okunyedo from P1, Kemi Ajit from the Nigerian Civil Defense and Security Corps, then Chris Agonha from HD, and also Dr. Joseph Ochogu from the IPCR, that is Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, and also to our esteemed participants here. We are very, very grateful for your time, for the engaging discussions and the questions that you have put up, and for the perspective that our panelists presented, and to also my colleagues who are here helping with the technical work and also compiling the questions. I say thank you to you and to our team lead, Dr. Kwon and Pema from FCDO for the opening sessions and the comments. I say thank you, Abayomi.